does it feel to be your father's girlfriend? Your father is madly in love with me, and I will make you pay for all the bullies.
That is Esther, an 18-year-old girl from a very poor home, still in SS1 because she's been in and out of school all her life due to the inability to pay school fees. While other girls her age are preparing to leave secondary school, Esther is still stuck with classmates 2 years younger than her because her father always makes her stay behind just to make sure her 3 brothers go to school. But everything changed after managing to write the primary 6 exam and getting a scholarship admission into a prestigious school. The girl who is kneeling is Lisa, a 15-year-old student in SS1 from a very wealthy home. But this wasn't the beginning of their story. Esther's first day at the prestigious Queensgate High School in Lagos felt like a dream, but the school was actually a nightmare wrapped in designer uniforms and sparkling shoes. While other girls arrived in tinted SUVs and chauffeur-driven cars, Esther stood outside the school gate with a nylon bag and slippers that had clearly seen better days. Her uniform was the type sold under the bridge in Oshati. It was faded and slightly oversized. No socks, her hair packed in a rough bun with no ribbon, and her face, though naturally pretty, was tired from the early morning travel from the public bus parks she had been jumping since 5:30 a.m. She looked out of place. Older than most of her classmates, taller, and definitely poorer. She stood there awkwardly, watching the other girls laugh, hug, and take pictures for Snapchat and Instagram. She didn't belong, and everyone knew it. Then came Lisa. With her perfectly pressed uniform, designer bag, lip gloss popping, and the kind of confidence only children of billionaires carried. She walked past Esther and paused, turning slowly like a villain in a high school movie. "Wait, is she a new cleaner?" Lisa asked loudly, pointing at Esther while her friends giggled cruelly. Esther said nothing. She just looked down and clutched her bag tighter. That was how it began. From that day, Lisa and her clique made it their mission to make Esther's life unbearable. They called her names: old cargo, gutter girl, charity case. They poured water on her chair before she sat. Framed her for stealing a teacher's purse. Even hid her assignment so she would be punished. And through it all, Esther endured in silence. Because the scholarship she got was the only way out of the life she lived. A miracle. A rope thrown into the river to save her from drowning in poverty. Back home, things were worse. Her father, a bitter man broken by life's hardship, only believed in one thing: boys' education. Esther was just a girl, and he never let her forget it. He would always say, "It's your brothers I need to train. You'll marry one day, so don't disturb me." There were days Esther would be out of school for weeks because there was no money for transport. Yet she managed to read ahead. She helped her brothers with their homework. She sold roasted groundnuts in traffic just to raise a little money. She never stopped trying. But the bullying in school only got worse. One day in the first week of SS1, Lisa planted a stolen phone in Esther's bag and screamed during assembly, "My iPhone is gone." Of course, it was later found in Esther's locker. That incident got her suspended and almost expelled. The scholarship committee called her father to discuss the case. He didn't defend her. Instead, he said, "If she's becoming a disgrace, send her back home. I have no money to be settling school wahala." That was the final straw. Esther was expelled. No one investigated the case. No one gave her a chance to explain. And just like that, she was back to square one. Her father wasted no time. "There's one Alhaji in the village. He wants to marry you. He'll pay your bride price. I'll use the money to complete the roofing for your brother's house." Esther begged. She cried. But her father had made up his mind. So, on the last night before her supposed husband visits to pay her bride price, she packed her few clothes into a small polythene bag and ran away. She slept under the bridge. Went a full day without eating. Her eyes were swollen, her stomach empty, her future blank. Until a black Prado SUV pulled up beside her where she sat crying on the roadside. A tall man stepped out. Sharp suit, calm voice. "Are you okay?" She looked up slowly. "No sir." And that moment changed everything. The man's voice was gentle, but there was something powerful behind it. Something that made Esther feel safe. She hadn't felt safe in years. He took one look at her bruised feet, torn slippers, and teary eyes, and without asking too many questions, opened the back door of the SUV. "Come in. Let's get you something to eat first." Esther hesitated. Lagos was dangerous. What if he was a trafficker or worse? But then, what choice did she really have? She got in. The interior smelled of fresh leather and cologne. The seat was warm. Her body shivered as the car's AC hit her damp skin. He didn't talk much. just drove in silence until they arrived at a quiet estate. A place Esther had only seen in magazines. Tall gates, neatly trimmed lawns, security everywhere. "Come in," he said again, walking ahead. Inside the house, it was even more intimidating. Clean tiles, a chandelier, the kind of kitchen that looked like it belonged in a movie. She stood by the door, unsure whether to remove her slippers. "Sit," he offered gently, handing her a hot plate of jollof rice and grilled chicken. Esther's hands trembled as she ate. It had been more than 24 hours since she last had a proper meal. When she finished, he handed her a clean towel and a robe. "There's a bathroom down the hall. You can clean up and rest. We'll talk after." Esther didn't know why, but she obeyed. For the first time in months, she showered with warm water. Tears mixed with the soap as she scrubbed away the dirt and pain of the past few days. She didn't just wash her body, she washed her broken soul. When she came out, fresh and tired, he was waiting in the sitting room with a glass of water. "My name is Mr. Daniel," he said. "What's yours?" "Esther." He nodded. "Esther, you're safe now. But I need to know everything. Why were you sleeping on the road? Who are you running from?" That was all it took. Esther opened up. She told him everything. From the poverty to the sacrifices. The school. The bullying. Lisa. The expulsion. Her father trying to marry her off. Everything. Mr. Daniel listened without interrupting. No judgment. No pity. Just silence. When she finished, her shoulders sagged as if a weight had been lifted. He rubbed his jaw and leaned back. "Then you're not going back to that house," he said calmly. "Not yet." Esther blinked. "But he's my father. He won't let me stay anywhere. He'll drag me back. Even the school. Then we'll play a game." Daniel interrupted with a slight smirk. "We'll tell him I want to marry you. After you finish secondary school, learn a skill, and when you're fully prepared for life. But for now, you'll be my girlfriend and be under my care. You'll finish school as a boarding student. And on weekends or holidays, you'll stay here." Esther's mouth dropped. "What? I know your father. That kind of man won't listen to sense. But if he hears that a rich man wants to marry his daughter, he'll be the one clearing the path for your success." Esther stared at him like he was mad. "But you're not just anything," he interrupted. "You deserve better. And I'll make sure you get it." She looked down. "But why are you doing this? You don't even know me." "Mr. Daniel gave her a tired smile. "Let's just say, I know what it feels like to be thrown into a life you didn't choose. Someone once helped me. Maybe this is my turn." Esther didn't have the words. She just nodded, and for the first time in a long while she felt seen. The next morning, they got into the car and drove to her father's house. She hadn't been there in days. Her brothers ran to the door when they saw her, shocked. Her father, shirtless and sitting on a wooden stool, squinted at Mr. Daniel as he stepped out of the car. "Who be this one? Wedding you carry come?" Mr. Daniel spoke confidently. "Good morning, sir. My name is Daniel Mensah. I'm here to talk about Esther. I want her to finish school. I'll pay for everything. And when she's done, I want to marry her." Her father's eyes widened. The man who wanted to sell her to a 60-year-old was now grinning like he won a lottery. He scratched his head. "Ah, okay, oh. If not marriage, you no even need to stress yourself. Carry her go. As long as she no come back disgrace me." Esther watched the exchange like a ghost floating outside her body. It was happening too fast. But this time, it was for her good. As they drove back, Mr. Daniel looked at her and said something that would change everything again. "This weekend, before you return to school, I'll be inviting someone over." "Who?" He gave a small, mysterious smile. "Lisa." That weekend, Lisa walked into her father's mansion like she owned it, which she did. The long marble hallway echoed with her footsteps as she scrolled through her phone. When the maid told her her dad wanted to see her urgently, she had assumed it was to remind her about some gala or lecture she didn't care for. But something was off. Her dad never called her for a meeting this early on a Saturday. And when she saw 2 glasses of juice on the table, with someone already seated beside him, her stomach turned. "Hi, Dad," she said casually, dropping her phone. Then she noticed the girl sitting beside him, and froze. Esther. No, it couldn't be. Her hair was done. She was in a clean, elegant dress, nothing flashy, but it screamed neatness and effort. Her posture wasn't weak anymore. Her eyes didn't avoid contact. She looked alive. Lisa blinked. "What is this?" Mr. Daniel stood, his arms sliding comfortably around Esther's shoulder. "Lisa, he said with a soft smile, "Meet Esther, my girlfriend." The silence that followed could be sliced with a kitchen knife. Lisa's mouth opened, but no words came out. Her world stopped spinning for a moment. Her brain was still loading. "Girlfriend," she finally echoed, looking at her father, then Esther. "You're joking, right, Mr. Daniel's face didn't flinch. "I've never been more serious. I'm going to marry her. But first, she needs to finish secondary school and learn a skill." "That's the plan." Lisa stared at them like she was watching a slow-motion nightmare. Esther didn't gloat. She didn't smirk. She just sat still, her fingers wrapped around her glass, calm, but fully aware of the earthquake happening beside her. "I don't understand," Lisa said, standing up. "Dad," Daniel cut in sharply. Lisa flinched. She had never heard her father raise his voice to her before. She was expelled, Lisa tried to explain. She stole. False accusations, he interrupted again. "I've looked into it. I know everything, Lisa. And let me make something very clear." He stepped forward, his tone calm but firm. "If you ever bully her again, if I so much as hear you whispered her name in mockery, I will make sure you lose every privilege you currently enjoy, and I will not blink while doing it." Lisa's chest rose and fell quickly, her lips trembling. "But Dad, why her?" He sighed and looked at her like he was seeing through her soul. "Because for once, I want to love someone who isn't surrounded by lies and pretense. And maybe because, she reminds me of who I used to be, before the world forced me to pretend." Lisa dropped back into her seat. Esther looked away, trying to breathe. Her heart was hammering. This wasn't part of the plan. But Mr. Daniel had made his move, and the chessboard had changed forever. Later that evening, Lisa locked herself in her room and cried. Not just because of jealousy, but because for the first time, she saw her father genuinely happy. And it wasn't because of her. Monday morning came quickly. Mr. Daniel drove both girls to school, Esther seated in front, Lisa quiet in the back. The tension in the car was suffocating. At the school gate, the principal came out personally to welcome them. Daniel shook his hand and spoke clearly for everyone nearby to hear. "I want you to treat Esther as family. She is under my protection now." And just like that, the air in Queensgate High changed after assembly. When Esther walked into class, the whispers started. Girls who used to ignore her now offered to carry her bag. Boys who laughed at her shoes now pulled out chairs for her. The teachers, once dismissive, now smiled warmly. Lisa sat at her desk, numb. The school now knew what she knew, that the girl they once mocked, was now untouchable. At break time, Lisa walked up to Esther slowly. She dropped to her knees. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, forgive me." Esther looked down, quiet. Then slowly leaned in and whispered something only Lisa could hear. "I forgive you, but I haven't forgotten. And I will make you feel everything I felt." Then Lisa laughed and shouted. "You should better forgive and forget or else." Then Esther laughed and shouted, "How does it feel to be your father's girlfriend? Your father is madly in love with me and I will make you pay for all the bullies." Those words weakened Lisa, even if Esther didn't mean what she said. But for the first time she felt happy fighting back. She hissed and walked away. And just like that, the game had begun. From the outside, it looked like Esther had finally won. No more torn slippers. No more empty stomachs. No more bullies. But the thing about scars is, even when you cover them, they still sting. And Esther's scars were deeper than anyone could see. It had been 2 weeks since Esther became the billionaire's girlfriend. 2 weeks since Lisa dropped to her knees and begged for forgiveness. 2 weeks since every student in Queensgate High suddenly remembered how to be kind to her. And yet, every night, as Esther lay in her soft dormitory bed with clean sheets and warm meals, she still woke up sweating, hands clenched, body shaking. She was safe now, but her body hadn't gotten the memo. Because years of pain don't disappear in 14 days. She smiled at school. She responded politely. She let the teachers call her Miss Esther now. But deep inside, she didn't trust any of it. Not the girls who used to laugh at her and now offered to braid her hair. Not the boys who once tripped her in the hallway and now said, "Good morning, Ma." Not even the teachers, who used to act like she didn't exist. Her only real peace came during the weekends, when she visited Daniel's house. And even that peace was confusing. He was kind. Extremely so. He never shouted. Never raised a hand. Never made her feel small. But he was also careful. He never sat too close. Never made suggestive comments. Never acted like a man who wanted her body. And that confused her even more. Because all her life, the only thing she had been taught about men was that they take. Her own father treated her like a burden, until a bride price became a quick solution. So why was Daniel different? One Saturday afternoon, she found herself sitting quietly on the kitchen stool, watching him chop vegetables with one hand while answering emails with the other. She cleared her throat. "Can I ask you something?" He looked up. "Of course. Why are you really doing this for me?" He paused, put the knife down, then leaned against the counter. "You know I am 31, right? Well, when I was 16, he began, I lost everything in one night. My father died. My mother was diagnosed with cancer. And the board of directors wanted to sell off the company because they thought I was too young to lead." Esther's eyes widened. "I had no one. Except one woman. She wasn't my blood. She was our cleaner. But she stood by me. My mom was in the hospital but the woman took me in when I had nowhere to go. She told the world I was still a king even when I felt like a street rat." Esther's heart beat faster. "So," he said softly, "when I saw you that night, crying on the street, I remembered her. And I promised myself I wouldn't be the kind of man who looks away from pain just because it's inconvenient." Esther looked away quickly, eyes misting. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled. "You don't owe me anything. Just finish school. Learn something. Become great. That's the real payback." She nodded. But life wasn't done testing her yet. On Monday, during literature class, a teacher handed Esther a sealed envelope. She opened it and froze. Inside was a photo. A blurry one, but clear enough. It was her and Mr. Daniel in front of his house, laughing. His hand resting gently on her back. Written across the photo in red pen was one sentence. "He's not who you think he is." Esther's blood ran cold. She looked around the class. Everyone was focused on their textbooks. But someone somewhere was watching her. Testing her. Waiting to see what she will do. Her fingers trembled. Had someone followed her? Who took this picture? What were they trying to say? She stuffed the photo back in the envelope, her heart racing. For the rest of the day, she couldn't concentrate. When she got back to the dorm, she found a second envelope tucked under her pillow. No photo this time, just a note. "You can be the billionaire's girlfriend for now. But secrets always come out. Ask him why he adopted Lisa." Esther sat on the bed, her mind spinning. Something didn't add up. Why was Lisa really adopted? Why did Mr. Daniel always avoid talking about her? And more importantly, who was trying to plant this seed of doubt? As she held the note in her hand, one thing was clear. Her new life came with a new set of enemies. And someone was out to destroy everything she had finally built. Esther didn't sleep that night. The words from the second note replayed in her head like a haunting melody. Ask him why he adopted Lisa. She paced the small dorm room long after lights out, clutching the envelope like it had the power to end her life. For a girl who had already lost everything once, the fear of losing a second chance was unbearable. But the thing about Esther, she wasn't a coward. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. When Mr. Daniel picked her up at the school gate, she was quiet. Too quiet. He noticed. "Is something on your mind?" She nodded but said nothing. Back at the house, over a simple dinner of yam and sauce, Esther dropped the envelope on the table. "I got this," she said calmly. Mr. Daniel looked at it. He didn't flinch. "I see. And this," she added, placing the note beside the photo. "They want me to ask you about Lisa." For a moment, he just stared at the note. Then he exhaled and pushed his plate aside. "She was never supposed to find out this way," he said quietly. "Neither were you." Esther leaned forward. "Then tell me everything." And so, he did. When Mr. Daniel was 16, his world collapsed after his father died. Their cleaner, desperate to give her grandchild a better life, saw how desperate Daniel's mother was to protect him from social vultures and business pressure. She decided to lie. She planned with Daniel to fabricate a story that he got a girl pregnant, but the girl died giving birth. The truth is, Lisa was the cleaner's granddaughter. The mom died while giving birth to her and she was only 2 months old. Lisa became their way of keeping the board off his back. A distraction. A symbol. Yes, Lisa wasn't his biological daughter. But he legally adopted her through a teenage runaway shelter. He never claimed her to chase women away. The cleaner and his mother only did to keep the company. I tried to be a father figure. But she became spoiled, entitled. She knew she wasn't mine through her grandmother but wanted the world to believe otherwise. Esther's voice cracked. And what about now? What does she believe? She doesn't care about the truth anymore, Daniel said. She just wants control. And I think she's the one sending you those notes. Esther stiffened. I don't want to believe that. You should, he said gently. Lisa never lets go of what she thinks belongs to her. And she believes this house, this life, even I, belong to her. Plus you are stealing me from her. Esther's heart sank. So the game had already started. And Lisa wasn't playing fair. But what Lisa didn't know was that the Esther she used to bully didn't exist anymore. Monday morning brought a shift. Lisa expected the cold shoulder. Expected Esther to be shaken by the note. Expected her to beg Mr. Daniel for truth or distance. But instead, Esther walked into school like a queen. New shoes. Fresh braids. Air of confidence. Lisa watched, confused and annoyed, as students gathered around Esther during lunch. When Esther walked past her in the hallway, she paused just long enough to say, "If you're going to try to break me again, Lisa, you better bring more than blurry photos and cowardly notes." Lisa's face went pale. That same day, justice came, swiftly and publicly. During home economics practicals, Lisa and her friends tampered with Esther's ingredients, replacing her ingredients with rotten vegetables. They thought she would be embarrassed during the cooking presentation. What they didn't know was, Esther quickly switched the ingredients that morning. And when the food came out burnt, stinking, and crawling with maggots, it was Lisa's dish on display, not Esther's. The class roared with laughter. The teacher was furious. Lisa stood there frozen, unable to explain why her perfect ingredients had turned into a public disaster. Esther didn't laugh. She just walked out quietly, head high. Lisa stormed into the principal's office later that day, demanding action. But the principal, now well aware of Mr. Daniel's influence, simply smiled and said, "Miss Lisa, I suggest you focus on your studies. Because next time, disciplinary action might follow." That night, Lisa cried in her room, remembering all the girls she had humiliated. It didn't feel so funny anymore. And as Esther lay in bed back in the dormitory, staring at the ceiling, she finally felt something new. Not revenge, not satisfaction, but power. The kind that came from surviving, healing, and finally taking back control of her life. But just when she thought the worst was over, a message popped up on her phone. "You think you've won. Mr. Daniel has a secret even you can't forgive. Ask him who Anita is." And with that, the real storm began. That name, Anita. It burned itself into her brain like a wound she couldn't touch. Was it his ex? His secret lover? Someone from his past? The message haunted Esther all night. But she doesn't know why, because it was just a fake relationship. By morning, Esther had decided, she wasn't going to ask him. Not yet. If Lisa wanted her to panic, she wouldn't give her that satisfaction. But unknown to Esther, Lisa was already 5 steps ahead. 3 days earlier, Lisa went to visit Anita. "Anita," Lisa began, crossing her legs like a princess. "You dated my father a long time ago, right?" Anita frowned. "What's this about?" "He's dating someone else now," Lisa said, venom lacing her voice. "A girl from my school." Anita's brow lifted. "How young?" "Too young. SS1. A nobody." "She's manipulating him." Anita didn't respond. Her silence spoke volumes. Lisa leaned forward. "If you care at all about your dignity, you'll want to talk to her. Let her know the truth about Mr. Daniel." Anita narrowed her eyes. "You want me to talk to a child?" "No," Lisa smirked. "I want you to warn her. You can't be destroyed and watch that little girl enjoy." 4 days later, Esther was walking back from the library when she saw a strange woman at the school gate, holding a brown envelope. She looked like someone from a business office, not a parent, not a teacher. The woman smiled. "Are you Esther?" She hesitated. "Yes, I'm Anita, a friend of Mr. Daniel." That name again. Her heart thudded. "What do you want?" "To talk. Just a few minutes. There's a spot outside school, very open, very public. I won't keep you long." Against her instincts, Esther followed. They sat at a nearby cafe, and Anita placed the envelope on the table. "I'm not here to hurt you," she began. "But you need to know who you're dealing with. Daniel isn't who he seems. He's a good man. But he's also made promises he never keeps." Esther stiffened. "Years ago," Anita continued, "he told me he'd marry me after his mother passed. That we would start a new life together once the company stabilized. I waited 6 years. Then I found out he adopted a daughter and started playing bachelor father for show." She slid the envelope across the table. Inside were printed photos: Daniel and Anita at dinner, at a wedding, on a beach. Candid, happy moments. "I don't know what he has told you," Anita said quietly, "but you deserve to know the truth. You're young. Don't get tied to a man who will leave you after using you." Esther didn't say a word. She just stared at the photos, her chest burning. And then came the second part of Lisa's plan. That same evening, Esther received a strange message from a senior in SS3 named Brian, one of the big boys of the school. Rich, proud, and always surrounded by girls. "Hey Esther. You looked down in class today. Wanna take a walk and talk a bit?" She hesitated, then said yes. Maybe she needed a distraction. They walked through the empty hallway, and he made her laugh once or twice. He was charming, smooth-talking, offering compliments like candy. And then, at the staircase near the back building, he asked for a selfie. "Just to remember this vibe," he said casually. She smiled awkwardly and agreed. The next morning, that photo was on Lisa's phone, and by evening, it was in Mr. Daniel's inbox, edited to look more romantic than it really was. Her shoulder brushing Brian's, her lips on his face. A poorly timed freeze frame that looked too much like a private moment. Lisa made sure of it. That weekend, Esther arrived at Mr. Daniel's house to silence. He didn't hug her like usual. He didn't ask about school. He just held up the photo. "What is this?" Esther froze. He took a selfie. He nodded and went to sit. "Who is Anita?" she asked him angrily. He sighed, running a hand over his face. "Esther, are you trying to hurt me? I asked you a question and you were bringing up another topic." "No," she shouted, trembling. "I was going to tell you. I met her. She gave me photos. I didn't even." "And Brian," he interrupted her. "He's nothing to me. He's just a classmate. Please, don't believe this." But Mr. Daniel turned away. And for the first time, he didn't believe her. Esther stood there, heart shattering. Lisa's plan had worked. The cracks were showing. And if she didn't fight back soon, the entire foundation might collapse. Esther didn't cry that night. She wanted to. She wanted to fall apart the way she used to, silently, in some dark corner, hugging her knees and whispering to herself that it would all pass. But not this time. Because this time, she had too much to lose. She sat on the edge of her bed, replaying every moment. Anita's visit. Brian's sudden friendliness. The perfectly timed photo. The fake affection. It all clicked. Lisa had orchestrated everything. And she wasn't just trying to ruin her reputation, she wanted to destroy her place in Mr. Daniel's life. But what Lisa didn't know, was that Esther had learned how to fight quietly. And this time, she wasn't fighting to survive, she was fighting to win. The next day at school, Esther walked in wearing calm like a crown. Her uniform was neat, her books arranged, her face unreadable. But inside, she was plotting. Her first stop. Brian. He was leaning on a car at the school gate like a local celebrity, smirking at two girls when Esther walked up. "Hey," he said, clearly expecting her to be nervous. "Hi Brian," she replied sweetly. "Can I ask you something?" He grinned. "Sure. Who paid you to set me up?" The smile vanished. "What are you talking about?" Esther stepped closer. "Don't play dumb. You don't randomly text girls like me. You were told to. And you took that picture on purpose. So I'll ask again, who paid you?" He looked around. The hallway was growing quiet. Students were watching. "I don't know what you're." She brought out her phone and tapped play. Brian's voice filled the air. "Let's take a walk. You looked down in class today. Just one selfie to capture this vibe." And then, softly at the end, a whisper he didn't think was recorded. "She's gonna love this one." Students gasped. Teachers paused. Brian turned pale. "I'll give you one more day," Esther said calmly. "Tell the truth, or I'll make sure this goes to the principal, and to Mr. Daniel." She walked away before he could say another word. That evening, Brian cracked. He sent her a voice note confessing everything. Lisa approached him a week ago with 100,000 nairas and instructions: get close to Esther, take a flirty picture, and send it to her. She even showed me how to angle the shot, he mumbled in the recording. "I didn't know it would go this far. I'm sorry." Esther didn't reply. She forwarded the message to 2 places, the school principal and Mr. Daniel. And then, she went to Lisa. The confrontation happened during lunch break. Lisa was in the cafeteria, surrounded by her usual entourage, pretending to be unbothered. Esther walked up to her table and dropped her phone on it. The audio started playing. By the time it ended, Lisa looked like she had swallowed hot coal. The room was dead silent. Esther leaned forward, her voice low but sharp. "I survived poverty. I survived your bullying. I survived being thrown out like trash by the world. Do you really think a girl like you scares me?" Lisa stood up, ready to defend herself, but Esther raised a hand. "Don't. You've already lost." And as Esther walked away, applause broke out. Not loud, not dramatic, but just enough for Lisa to feel the sting. Later that day, the principal called both girls in. He had already spoken with Mr. Daniel. Lisa's punishment was swift. 1 month suspension, mandatory apology, and probation for the rest of the term. Lisa cried, screamed, tried to explain, but no one listened. Because for once, everyone saw who she really was. Meanwhile, Esther went home that weekend to meet a silent Mr. Daniel. He hadn't called since the picture, but now, he stood at the balcony, watching her walk toward him. "I was wrong," he said before she even reached him. "I didn't trust you. I let doubt get in the way." Esther stood quietly, waiting. He held up his phone. "I heard Brian's confession. And I know about Anita too. She wasn't lying, but she also wasn't telling the full truth. I heard her, yes. But I never promised her marriage. She created that in her head." Esther nodded. "So what now?" Mr. Daniel walked up to her, carefully. "Now, I want to do what I should have done that day." He knelt slightly, not in proposal, but in apology. "I will protect you. I will believe you. And I will walk with you. Until you're ready to fly without me." Esther's eyes stung, but no tears fell. She simply whispered, "Thank you." Because deep down, she wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was becoming someone, unshakable. The weeks following Lisa's suspension were peaceful. Strangely peaceful. No anonymous notes. No twisted photos. No sabotage in the shadows. Esther focused on her studies. Her grades climbed like never before. Teachers now smiled when she raised her hand. Her classmates no longer stared like she was an alien dropped into their rich bubble. And on the weekends, she returned to Mr. Daniel's house, her safe haven. She was already learning tailoring from a professional trainer in the estate, a skill she had always dreamed of. At night, she read fashion books and imagined herself opening her own line one day, Esther's Touch. Life was finally beginning to feel stable. But peace, she had learned, was a tricky thing. It often comes right before the next explosion. That morning, Mr. Daniel traveled for a quick business meeting in Abuja. Esther stayed at the house for the weekend under the supervision of the housekeeper, Mama NK. The next morning, while rearranging the library, the doorbell rang. Before she got there, Mama NK had already attended to it. She handed her a brown envelope and asked her to keep it for Mr. Daniel in his library. But the envelope had a handwriting that made her heart freeze. It read, "Private will, Mr. Andrew Daniel, deceased." Her hands trembled. That was Mr. Daniel's father, the founder of everything. She knew she shouldn't open it, but curiosity overruled fear. Inside was a typed document, a will. It was written just weeks before the man's death, and it named a biological child Mr. Daniel never knew about. A girl. Esther's eyes widened as she read the final clause. Should my son ever find this and choose not to follow through, I fear he may repeat my mistakes. The child was born in secret, hidden from our name, placed in a system I now regret. If you are reading this, her mother's name is Abike, our housekeeper's daughter. We had an affair that led to a pregnancy. She wanted to get rid of it, but I persuaded her not to. I just got a report that she lost her life while giving birth to our daughter. Nobody knows the child is mine, but our housekeeper named her Lisa. She is your sister. Esther's mouth went dry. Lisa was Mr. Daniel's real sister. And he didn't know. She dropped the paper like it had burned her fingers and couldn't continue with the will. For hours, her head spun. Lisa wasn't just a spoiled brat. She was blood. Everything Mr. Daniel believed, that he had no family left, that Lisa was just a responsibility, was wrong. And if Lisa ever found out, the implications would shake everything. That evening, Mr. Daniel returned. Esther sat in the living room, holding the will in her lap. When he walked in, he smiled and dropped his briefcase, until he saw her face. Esther. She handed him the envelope. He took one look, and sat down slowly, like the ground beneath him had cracked. I didn't know, he said hoarsely. All these years. Esther watched him, her heart aching. Are you going to tell her? He didn't answer immediately. Then he stood and walked to the window, staring into the darkness outside. I should. She deserves to know. But Lisa, she's not ready. And maybe neither am I. Esther rose to her feet. You don't get to decide readiness. You of all people know what it feels like to live in lies. He turned sharply, guilt washing over his features. She almost destroyed you, he whispered. She tried to ruin everything. Would you still want me to embrace her as family? Esther took a breath. I don't care about what she did anymore. But truth is truth. And she was your daughter before this. He looked at her for a long moment. Then nodded. I'll tell her. But before he could, Lisa received a copy of the will already. She came back home on Thursday. Angrier. Smarter. And this time, with a lawyer. Esther was in the sewing room when she heard the front gate slam. She peeked out the window. It was Lisa. But not the Lisa from before. This one wasn't in her school uniform. She wore a corporate two-piece suit, heels clicking like a warning bell across the tiles. Beside her was a tall man in a navy blue suit holding a leather briefcase. And from the expression on Lisa's face, she hadn't come to beg, or play. Daniel was in the living room when she barged in. You lied to me, she said, voice trembling but cold. Daniel stood. You knew all along. She shouted. You knew I was your sister and you hid it like I was trash. Esther entered slowly, heart racing. I just found out, he replied. A few days ago. I was going to. You had years to treat me like family. She snapped. But you only saw me as a shield. A charity project. A cover-up. She turned to the lawyer. Please. The man opened the briefcase, brought out a document, and handed it to Mr. Daniel. This is a formal petition, the lawyer began, challenging your authority to make sole decisions over this household and the company estate left behind by your late father. Daniel's eyes narrowed. On what grounds? The lawyer adjusted his tie. On the grounds that Ms. Lisa Daniel, according to your father's will, is your biological sister, and entitled to equal inheritance and decision-making. Esther's breath caught. Lisa wasn't just back. She was demanding power from the man who gave her everything since birth. Daniel's hands shook slightly as he scanned the document. His jaw clenched. Lisa stepped forward, eyes gleaming. You thought you could erase me. Push me aside. Replace me with her, she pointed at Esther, like I'm nothing. Esther spoke, voice quiet but firm. No one replaced you, Lisa. You pushed everyone away. Lisa turned sharply. You don't belong here. You're not family. You're just a poor girl playing Cinderella. And news flash, Cinderella didn't inherit the kingdom. Daniel raised his voice, thunderous for the first time. Enough. The room went still. You think money and blood give you power. You were my blood even when I didn't know it. And I still tried. But you let bitterness destroy everything. Lisa's eyes welled up. You replaced me with her, she whispered. And now you want me to accept it. I didn't replace you, he said softly. But she earned something you never did, respect. Lisa broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but she didn't let them slow her. I'm not here for apologies. I'm here for what's mine. Then she turned to Esther. And you, enjoy it while it lasts. She walked out, heels stabbing the floor, leaving silence in her wake. The lawyer followed. Daniel stood there, shaking slightly. Esther walked to him slowly. What happens now? She asked. He sighed. Now, I fight. But with her as your sister, doesn't that mean? Yes, he said, eyes tired. If the court sides with her, she gets half the company, half the estate, and a say in everything. Esther was quiet. And me? He looked at her. I'll protect you, even if I lose everything. Her heart clenched. No, she whispered. We protect each other. That night, she couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, but because she realized, this story wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about being a billionaire's girlfriend. It was about power, truth, growth. 3 weeks passed. Daniel's legal team had filed a response to Lisa's petition. The board members were in disarray. The media had begun to sniff around the edges of the story. Rumors were already flying. Daughter turned out to be an adopted daughter who now turns out to be heir. Legal war begins in the Daniel empire. Lisa had gone silent. She wasn't in school. She wasn't returning calls. Esther was still attending classes, but her heart was heavy. She stayed away from drama, focused on her sewing, and waited for the final hammer to fall. Until one Friday evening, Lisa came back. Not to school, but to Mr. Daniel's house. She walked in alone. No lawyer, no threats, no documents, just her, and a folder clutched tightly in both hands. Esther was in the kitchen when the housekeeper whispered, "She's here again." She walked into the living room, and froze. Lisa stood there, pale, eyes swollen like she hadn't slept in days. Daniel rose slowly. "What do you want?" Lisa looked at him, then at Esther, and dropped the folder on the table. "I'm dropping the case." Silence. "I've spent the last few weeks thinking," she said, voice low, "about everything. The years, the lies, the pain. I didn't need to find out I was your sister to feel abandoned. I already felt it. Every day." Esther said nothing. Lisa turned to her. "I hated you," she whispered. "Not because you were poor. But because you were everything I wanted to be. Kind, resilient, seen." She wiped her eyes. "I can't erase what I did. And I'll probably never forgive myself for it. But I won't destroy the only family I have left. Or the girl who earned her place here the right way." She stepped back. And this time, it was Lisa who whispered, "I'm sorry." Then she walked out, and didn't look back. Daniel stood frozen. Esther slowly walked over and opened the folder. Inside was a letter addressed to the court, officially dropping her claim. Tears stung her eyes. Not out of pity, but relief. Lisa didn't change because someone forced her to. She changed because the truth finally touched her the way pain once did. The months that followed were healing. Lisa returned to school quietly. No drama. No designer bags. Just silence. And effort. She apologized to her classmates. Spoke up during assembly about bullying. And most shockingly, volunteered to be part of a mentorship club that helped younger girls transition into school life. People didn't trust her at first. But slowly, things changed. As for Esther, she completed her secondary school with distinction. Her tailoring skill was now generating income. She had even begun sewing for teachers and school staff while in school. Her weekends were filled with design sketches and fabric deliveries. She no longer saw herself as the billionaire's girlfriend. She saw herself as Esther, the girl who made it, on her own terms. One evening after their graduation, Daniel sat with her in the garden. The air was quiet, calm. "Do you know I meant it?" he asked. "About marrying you after secondary school. I meant it." Esther smiled gently. "I didn't know you meant it. But I suspected when you got angry because of that picture. Well, this 20-year-old has grown fond of this 33-year-old man. And I'll give you an answer after I build my name first. Not as your girlfriend, but as Esther. Remember that was the plan, right?" He chuckled. "Fair enough. They sat in silence, watching the sky turn orange. And then Esther whispered something that stayed with him forever. You saved me. And gave me wings. And now, I'm ready to fly. Mr. Daniel chuckled and shouted, Go girl! Esther smiled, hugged him, whispered a thank you and ran inside. This is the end of the story. Do you think they will end up together? Kindly tell me in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more.